I ran a study of over 20,000 people around the world, asking them what they valued the absolute most in their life. And according to the overwhelming results of my study, bank accounts are not what people actually value the most in life. Which is surprising, because when I ask Google what valuable means, these are the images that I see. Sparkling diamonds, some weird gold eggs, and toilet paper made from $100 bills. Okay. But when I talked to actual human beings in my survey, well, none of the 20,000 people clutched their pearls and responded with, my brick of gold, my watch, or my diamond. In fact, the vast majority of respondents didn't include anything financial at all. So here are some examples of what they did say. Backpacking with friends, writing my screenplay, getting married in Hawaii, and becoming a chef. So according to research, valuable is more like this: life experiences. Don't get me wrong, money is very important. I'm not up here to say that you guys should quit your jobs, go hug trees, and start hissing at people that live in mansions. We all need money. It's just the way the world works. But what I am saying is that our experiences are even more important to us and more valuable to us than money. Because when people pass away, their tombstones and their obituaries don't say, died with 10 million in the bank. At the funeral, people don't say, I loved Bob, he was wealthy. His coworkers talk about how they love volunteering at the animal shelter together. His kids talk about how he took them to national parks when they were young. And his wife talks about how they watched the sunset together every night. They talk about Bob's experiences. Because our bank accounts are not the true measure of our life. And that's something that we all eventually realize, but often too late. You probably hear people say, life is short, or the even more annoying, YOLO, all the time. But apparently that's just talk. Because according to a study from Cornell, the #1 regret people have towards the end of their life is the things they didn't do. And sadly, the results in my study were the same. They regretted all the things they'd wanted to experience, but didn't. 76% of people feel that way. The goals they'd never achieved or even tried to achieve. The places they'd always wanted to go, but never went to. The things they always wanted to learn, but never made time for. When I asked, they gave me examples like this. I always wanted to go to Italy, to climb a mountain, to learn Spanish, and to start a charity. So why had so many of these people given up on achieving their personal goals? Well, that's the next question I asked in my survey. Why didn't you do the things you'd most wanted to do in your life? And here are those results. 94% of people just never got around to it, or let fear stop them. We are all familiar with these reasons. Because even though experiences are proven to be more valuable to us than money, we aren't taught to prioritize seeking out and investing in new experiences. When we're kids, we don't go to school to learn to live a fulfilling life and to pursue our dreams and passions. We don't realize that experiences are the singular thing in life that only increase in value over time. So instead, we make excuses, we postpone our personal goals. We tell ourselves lies like, I'll do it after I get promoted, when the kids are older, when I retire, when I'm less busy, someday. And then we keep putting them off until it's too late, because someday is not a day on the calendar.
It's like, okay, I'll wait until the kids are a little bit older, or once I get a promotion at work, or once I retire. And then so the average retirement age, I think, is 64 in the US, and the average lifespan is 76. So most of these people are waiting till this retirement that might never come.
We need to shift perspective as well into looking at these as investments, really wrapping our head around investing in ourselves and our greatest aspirations and our families and loved ones and jobs, every aspect of being a human. If we shift to go, I'm investing in this, I think we're going to, probably get more creative around the things that we can do to support that vertical of our well-being. But B, I think it forces us to kind of, look for gratitude.
That's what you're going to care about at the end of your life, is these moments and these experiences that are worth way more than money. And in my life, I've seen drastic roller coasters between being very poor and seeing the top 1% and then back down to poor again and back up. I've seen drastic changes, and my happiness doesn't really follow that roller coaster, right? And I think that's the experience with a lot of people, is that they could be really poor as long as they're covering their needs, or they can be wealthy, and there's not a big difference in happiness.
You really remind the reader, and you're going to remind us here, to make someday today. Why do you think, which is great, by the way, I think it's an obvious but essential reminder that we could all do a little bit more of. But why do we keep putting off someday? What is the biggest reason we choose to put off our biggest goals and aspirations, you think?
So when my co-author Joe Huff and I were writing this book, that was the exact question we would be asking people, is why are you putting off all of these things that are supposedly the most important things to you in life? So we ended up doing this study of 20,000 people around the world and asking them that exact question. What are the things that you want to do in your lifetime?
20,000 people. That's a hell of a sample size.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, there was a few people
Respect.
that we talked to.
Respect on that N equals.
And it's sad. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but sad at the same time, that the number one reason why people didn't do the things they most wanted to do was that they just, quote, didn't get around to planning it. So that was number one. So the reason why people wait to plan things is because they believe in this fictional someday. That's not actually a real day. If you look at a calendar, someday's not on there. So.
True. Very true.
So all of these people would say some variance of oh, I wanted to get around to it, I just never did, because I thought that I would do it someday. But then something happened where maybe they got sick, maybe, one of their kids got sick, or, they had, someone in their family passed away, where something happened where they didn't actually get around to doing this thing that they wanted to do. So we always say make someday today, because you just really, truly never know when something's going to happen. And you need to start working on your goals and dreams now and not wait for a fictional day. I think the reason why we do this is because we make excuses for ourselves, and the excuses look and we all do this. It's not just these people, it's me, it's you, it's everyone. Say, oh, I'll do X when I graduate college, or once I find the love of my life, I'll do this. Or once
some particular major life event thing must happen before what we want can happen.
Yeah, these milestones, right? It's okay, I'll wait until the kids are a little bit older, or once I get a promotion at work, or once I retire. And then so the average retirement age, I think, is 64 in the US, and the average lifespan is 76. So most of these people are waiting till this retirement that might never come.
To cram in all your
cram in everything.
In barely more than a decade.
Yeah, and it's do you really even want to do those things when you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, et cetera? Probably not. So they're pushing all of these things that they really want off until a fictional someday, which probably doesn't exist. So it's sad, but. Yeah.
Why do you think so many people are living in maintenance and probably don't even realize it?
I think just because it is comfortable, but at the end of the day, discomfort is the thing that makes you grow, right? There's not you can't do anything big in life without being uncomfortable, in my opinion. You know, like going home every day from work, watching Netflix, going to bed, and like getting food delivered to you. Like we can live a very, very comfortable life these
Who does?
days.
I don't do that.
I mean, everybody does that. And I'm not saying that's even bad. Like, I mean, that's, you know, sometimes that's what you need, like to like restore yourself, right? But if you do that every single day, and then you wake up in 10 years and you're like, wait, I just wasted my 30s or my 40s or whatever. Like that happens to the majority of people. Will wake up and be like, what was I doing? And I think if I look at my own life, like my biggest regrets in life are the times that I spent being comfortable in like a relationship, for an example.
Oh, huge.
Like,
Absolutely.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's where most people don't realize they're maintaining a life. Because it's so easy, you know, 6 months, a year plus in that relationship to just like, oh, like they're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We can just be here.
Yeah. And I think it happens in jobs. I think those are probably the top two, I would say, in my life. Like I've spent too much time being in relationships that weren't working, but maybe they were very comfortable. And then in jobs that were comfortable and that I was like, it's just too hard to leave that job.
Right.
But then
the
when
pay's too good.
Yeah, exactly. Like
benefits
golden
are too good.
handcuffs.
Yeah.
It's and that happens to so many people, and I totally get it because it is comfortable and it's hard to change. But then the moment where you do change that is like where you really, you know, it's like, I think I talk about this in a different chapter in the book, but I talk about hermit crabs, and I like to say it's like being a hermit crab. It's like, you know, the hermit crab like leaves its shell, and then it's kind of like, you know, just looking for another one, and it's super uncomfortable, and then it finds a bigger
freaky
shell.
If you ever see a
it's totally weird. Naked hermit
something
crab.
about this is not right.
But then what happens is that it finds a bigger shell and it grows into it. And that's what happens when you get into these uncomfortable situations. I mean, a great example of that, like in my own life that I like to think about is when I was a kid, I was absolutely terrified of public speaking. And now that's what I do professionally.
Right.
And if I
you went at it head on.
Right. Like if I didn't move through that fear, like, you know, I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing at this point, but it's been such a great thing in my life to be able to like influence people by speaking. And I don't think I would have ever had that if I just didn't move past that fear. So, and that's uncomfortable. It's super uncomfortable, but it is what it is. Well, it's been proven that the number one way to like grow a relationship is, and that could be with your partner or with like a colleague, which is really important to have like friends at work, obviously. So I would say,
right, not just intimate relationships.
Like friends,
exactly,
colleagues, anyone. The number one way to grow
we all have some
those,
friends maybe we should break up with too. Or we're not feeding each other and growing together, you know, like we used to.
We actually talk about that in the book. It's really funny. Like you probably should like ditch the friends that are bringing you down. And even though it sucks, that's the way it is. But the number one way to grow a relationship is to share new experiences together. So if you're, you know, in a rut in a relationship, but you want to keep that relationship, I mean, and this happens to everyone. It's like, say you have kids and then you're just like kind of maintaining, it's like such a stressful life and everything. But the number one way to get out of that rut is to try new things together. And that's what our book is really about. Right? Yeah, spice it up. Yeah. And it can be like something as simple as like, you know, taking cooking classes together, or like doing something really crazy, like going skydiving, or, you know, learning a new language together. Like it can be free, it can be cheap. It doesn't have to be.
There are those experiences again you're talking about.
Right. It doesn't have to be a trip to, you know, Italy. It can be something that's like, you know, right outside your door. Like there's plenty of things to do, but the problem is that people don't do new things, and then they think, oh, I have to go outside my relationship or outside of whatever. But really, it can just be right there. I mean, some of the greatest experiences I've ever had have been things that I've had to pay for, of course. And I don't think like everything can be free, but I think some of the greatest things I've ever done are either free or next to free. It's like, I'll use surfing as an example. So I lived in LA for probably 14 years before I surfed. Like, why?
I haven't got up on board either. I mean, 5.
And it's like, okay, like, why did I waste that much time thinking like, oh, I wish that I could do this, but I can't do it because I'm not going to be good at it. So one day I finally, like my friends had asked me to go, and I immediately came back with an excuse. I was like, oh, I don't want to. I don't feel good, whatever. And then I ended up going, and it ended up like totally changing my perspective and like almost changed my life because I loved it so much. And even though I'll never be great at it, like I'm never going to win the Olympics in surfing, but it's something that I love so much, and now I feel like a part of. And I ended up like moving, towns to be closer to the water.
No way, wow.
Yeah, and I mean now I'm just like so much more of in tune with nature, and I just love being in it. And I would have never had that
that's
experience had I never just said yes to something that I thought I wouldn't be very good at. And I think little things like that can change your perspective. I mean, like even just going hiking. I know that's so cliche, but especially in Los Angeles, but it really does like calm your nervous system and really does like make you think like, wow, I'm so lucky. And, like the gratitude is there, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. So I think some of the best things in life are free.